Let's check in on Project Marvel and the state of the Spurs' potentially new home in downtown San Antonio. Castle gets pranked. Is the Roy really a lock? And let's look at tonight's game, Spurs Hornets.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Friday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs and Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kansas by San Antonio. And yeah, TGIF, everybody. Hope you're having a great Friday. As always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kansas by Plus app. You know where to go. Locked On Spurs newsletter in the description below on YouTube. Click on that link, LO Spurs newsletter. It is completely free. Sign up today. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So you want to go to FanDuel right now. What are we talking about today? We're going to catch you up on the latest on Project Marvel. For those of you who do not know that, it's kind of a big topic in San Antonio. Hey, it's about local coverage right here on Locked On Spurs, the Locked On NBA Network, where we're getting very local with this topic. What's the latest? What's a recent poll showing? It's kind of close. You'll hear about that in a bit. And just how long will this project take? All that and more, including Castle getting pranked, and something to keep an eye on with the Roy Rookie of the Year award. Is it really a slam dunk? We'll find out in just a few minutes, and then we'll look at tonight's game, Spurs Hornets. Hopefully the Spurs get some revenge. Remember that game in Charlotte? 1 point loss, I believe it was. You know, is anybody really surprised though? They lost to a depleted Mavs team recently. Then they lost to practically a depleted Hornets team. So memo to the rest of the teams in the NBA, you still got the Spurs on your slate. Just be depleted. You might have your best shot at beating the Spurs if you head into the game like that. You know, we got a lot to talk about. Let's go to bring in our guest. And, you know, I don't know if he big time me. I don't know how to classify it. I think he double booked me. Maybe that's the best way to say it. He is Mike Jimenez of Area 210 Podcast. He did not big time me or double book me this time. Jimenez, welcome back.
It's the birthday episode, man. It's the
by the way, happy birthday. Yes, happy birthday.
It's the 30th anniversary of my 18th birthday. Turned 48 today.
We're gonna go with that.
Yeah. I'll take it.
You're still a baby, man. You're still a baby. You're still a baby. But anyway, happy birthday, man. I hope you had a good one. And we tried to figure it out where you can come on for your birthday yesterday.
Yeah.
But didn't work out. But nevertheless, not too far away from it. Happy belated. Got any plans?
Dinner tonight with my kids and my girlfriend, and gonna go fishing this weekend. So we're doing the Gulf of Mexico. Gonna go out there for 8 to 10 hours and get some fishing on. So I'm excited.
Well, anyway, happy birthday, Jimenez. Hope you had a good one. Hope you will have a good one as well with your family and your kids. Yeah. And just enjoy your day. Again, happy birthday. All right, so why is Mike Jimenez here? Well, first of all, you got to follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. But he's also here because we have a few topics to get into. Quick Project Marvel update. Castle gets pranked. I got to ask Jimenez if he ever got pranked like that before, or just pranked, period. And then he has some interesting thoughts on the Roy. And then, of course, Spurs Hornets tonight. All right, let's kick it off with Project Marvel. Again, one thing that the Locked On Network always preaches is local stories, local coverage. You can't get any more local than this. I think with the Spurs season pretty much a wrap right now, Jimenez, the bigger topic right now is Project Marvel. So for those of you who don't know, basically it's a very ambitious plan to revitalize downtown San Antonio in a sports entertainment district. And it includes a Spurs arena. And that's not all. It includes a land bridge, a facelift to the Alamo Dome, new convention spaces. It's very ambitious, all right? It's huge. It's massive, all right? Well, UTSA recently did a poll surveying local residents and whether they're for it or against it or indifferent. And it was close, and it is close. And I think this is probably going to come down the wire. Yes, there were more San Antonians in favor of it, but it wasn't by much. The margin was slim. But Jimenez, how important is that 20% that were undecided? I think it's going to come down to that. Your overall thoughts on that poll you saw, and what are you thinking after you had the dust is settled already a little bit from what the city San Antonio and the Spurs want to have?
If the Spurs want to have this, they need to phrase it differently, man. It's a weird, it's a weird public relations thing that goes on with it because the Spurs are under contract, I believe, until 2032 at the Frost Bank Center. And that's 30 years, man. And one of the things about it is that NBA teams, NFL teams want to have a new facility every 30 years. That's the price of doing business with a professional franchise because there's new arenas that go up in LA, Las Vegas, different cities, and you want to keep up with the Joneses when it comes to it all. And that comes with public financing. And a lot of people think that it should be paid for by these billionaires who own the teams and whatnot. Well, they didn't become billionaires by spending their own money. Half the time they get tax breaks along the way. Most of the time they get tax breaks along the way. And the way that I phrase it for Spurs fans is that you have to ask yourself the question, do you want this team in San Antonio or not? Because it may come down to that. And I get very passionate about this. I mentioned this on Twitter the other day because my favorite football team moved away, the Houston Oilers, back in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And I'm still devastated about that. And it happens from time to time in the NBA. The Seattle Sonics, the 1979 champions, for crying out loud, moved to Oklahoma City. Teams move from time to time, and I would hate for that to happen to San Antonio. The weird thing about Project Marvel, though, is that it's not just an arena, but it's the Spurs saying, you know what, why don't we fast forward 100 years into the future with a new hotel and convention space and revitalization of the Alamo Dome and all of that stuff. And it's extremely ambitious. And whenever they put up a price tag on it, the price tag is always underbidding it because fact of the matter is that things get more expensive as time goes on. We have trade wars going on right now with Canada, and who supplies lumber? Canada does. And if there's a tariff involved with that, that makes it even more expensive to do. But the question is, does the city of San Antonio have the stomach for this? As you mentioned, the UTSA poll shows that more people are favored for it than not, but not to that 50% mark.
Nope.
And that 20%, why are they hesitant? So I would venture off to say that the 20% is probably more apt to say that they're not supportive of it than they are. And that being said, it could be not this year, not next year, but 4 or 5 years down the road, we might hear those rumblings of, we need a new arena, we're leaving.
Yep. And that was the big scare back when it was the SBC Center, now the Frost Bank Center. It was that they were leaving the dome. It was like, oh, I don't know. There were confirmed rumors that the Kings, the Maloof brothers, were interested in acquiring the Spurs franchise.
Move them to Vegas.
They moved to Vegas, so that's something to keep in mind. For me, I think it's still way too early to see how this is going to all come down. What gets me is, okay, let's just say they approve it, Jimenez. How long is it going to take? Everybody's saying, oh, it's going to be the house that Wemby built. Will he still be playing at that point? He might be on the last legs of his career, considering how long this is going to take. And so, but here's the thing, I've heard Spurs fans say, fine, if we, the citizens, the residents of San Antonio, have to put some of the bill, they better not be playing games in Austin. What do you think about that?
That's a very good point, man. Especially if it's going to cost that much money. The Austin games,
I think it's in the billions already now, estimating at close to $2 billion.
It's probably closer to 3 or 4 when it's all said and done. And, that's the type of facility. I mean, just to keep in mind, $1 billion facility is what built the AT&T Stadium where the Dallas Cowboys play. So this is a big boy project. And the question becomes, does the city of San Antonio want to enter the 21st century in a big way? And I look at it this way. It needs to be framed in a certain way. The scare tactic is to say that this is the ability for the Spurs to leave, right? Because, hey, we didn't get the arena. Let's just up and leave. But the other way that you can look at it is saying we need to attract big business to San Antonio. This is an ambitious project. The city of San Antonio needs to do things to advance what we are, because we fall behind Houston, Houston, Austin, and Dallas in a lot of respects. But if there's a destination city, it would be here. And I'll throw out another caveat to it that no one's talking about, Jeff. What happens if the state legislature and the Texas residents over the next 10 years legalize gambling?
No, that's a game changer.
That's a game changer. Where could that be? Right there in that district.
Yep, right there in that district too. Yeah. So again, just a quick update on what's going on. Again, a recent poll shows that technically, yes, residents are in favor, but not by much. It hasn't meet, as Jimenez mentioned, that 50% threshold. So you can bet as it gets closer to that vote, or whenever it does happen, that 20% of people in San Antonio are going to get wooed. They're going to get made promises left and right and whatnot. But you got to feel for the east side of San Antonio. Man, talk about empty promises never kept. Never. I still remember the plans for the east side when the SVC Center was introduced. It's eerily similar. Now, granted, it's downtown San Antonio, so that's already a leg up there. But if it does pass Jimenez, you mentioned Final Four could come back to San Antonio. Maybe San Antonio will host another All-Star game. What's going to happen to the Rodeo Road Trip? Let's just say they approve it, Jimenez. Does the Rodeo Road Trip end? No more?
Yeah, it could end because the Frost Bank Center is still a viable location, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been fortunate enough to watch basketball games, NBA games in Houston, Philadelphia, Phoenix, and LA. And I'll say this, man, Frost Bank Center is a very enjoyable place.
Yeah, it's nice. It's not horrible.
Yeah, it's not modern anymore. You did mention the fact that the East Side was made a lot of promises. And one thing you'll know about politics, and this is not a left or a right thing, the poorer sides of town always get screwed. And if this is going to go to a vote, guess who's going to vote against it? The East Side.
East side of San Antonio. Yep. Yeah.
And then you're going to have the West Side come out and say, well, we're not going to benefit from this.
Yep.
The South Side might vote for it because it's so close. But, it's one of those things where I think it'll be a close vote either way. But really, I mean, the future of the Spurs might hang in the balance when it comes to it all. Mm-hmm. And maybe part of me thinks, Jeff, and this is the cynic in me, that this might have been the way of saying that the Spurs may want to leave San Antonio by proposing such a ambitious project, knowing that it gets shut down.
Yeah, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, there's your quick update on Project Marvel, everybody. Again, local, right? That's what everybody preaches here on Locked On Network. We bring you the local topics right here on Locked On Spurs. And yes, that is a big, big topic in the city of San Antonio. Project Marvel, the future of the Spurs, potentially new arena, and so much more. All right, let's take a break here. All right, when we get back, we're going to be looking at Steph Castle now. Yes, he got pranked. He got pranked big time. We're going to look at the video of it. And then Jimenez is something interesting that he wants you all to keep in mind when it comes to the Rookie of the Year award. We'll also preview tonight's game, Spurs Hornets, in just a few seconds with Mike Jimenez of the Area 210 podcast. Follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. Hey, let's talk about FanDuel.
When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on that than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And really, for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into the same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I miss a chance. Plus, with the app, it's easy to use. When you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You just want to go to FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. How about that? Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
I am Megatron. Do not fail me and subscribe to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
You ain't got no wheel. That was Steph Castle getting pranked after the Spurs win over Dallas. Video courtesy of Devin Vassell's Instagram. But there you have it. Yeah, I mean, you know what? When it comes to pranks, I think they could have done better. Taking the wheels off your car, fine. That's cool. but how about a jump scare or something like that? But
Yeah.
interesting though, Jimenez, De'Aaron Fox after the win versus Dallas recently said that he hasn't been on an NBA. Well, he's only been on two NBA teams now, but he's never seen a rookie like Castle not have to do anything. No rookie hazing, no rookie chores. He said he doesn't even bring snacks on the planes. He doesn't even bring out the shoes for shoot around. So he said Castle definitely deserved this. Mike Jimenez of Area 210 Podcast. Have you ever been pranked like that or just been pranked, period?
The pranks that I had in sports back in the day, now mind you, it wasn't the most manly sport, but I was in high school tennis back in the day.
Yeah.
They would sabotage the food. You know, they would put like hot sauce on the food when you're not looking, you know, stuff like that. You take a bite out of it and it just burns your mouth. That's the type of pranks that I had back in the day that were pretty PG. It's not the Spurs' way to do anything really bad to the players, but I'm okay with rookies going out there and having to carry the bags, carry the shoes, bring snacks. That all is perfectly fine. Makes sense to me. The one that pisses me off, though, is in the NFL when they make them, pay tens of thousands of dollars for a dinner, by bringing up a $100,000 tab. That pisses me off. But this was playful. The funny thing about it, though, a couple of things. He wanted to fight Blake Wesley.
He swung on Wesley. He threw a punch at Wesley, and Wesley ducked at the last second.
And Sohan still in uniform.
Yeah.
Like everyone else not in uniform. Yeah. What was Sohan doing where he was so fully dressed?
Yeah, I think he was just anxious to see it go down. I think that's what it might be. I think he was just
didn't want to miss it.
He didn't want to miss anything, and then he took off. By the way, I think it came out, so don't quote me on this, everybody. I think it was Mamu who did this, who started this. And you look at the video, it's Mamu trying to, console Castle. It's fine. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. You're fine. You're okay. But Castle didn't look too happy, though. Didn't look too happy.
You don't want to scratch anything, man. Whether it be...
Well, you know what? Kudos on the Spurs. They had that thing lifted, so the rims, or the rims didn't touch of the cement there. But that was a great practice. But while we're talking about Castle here, you brought up a good point on your show and Joe Garcia's show, Area 210 Podcast, is maybe the Rookie of the Year award is not quite etched in stone, etched his name, Castle's name etched on it, nothing. And you're saying because of the resurgence of Risha Shea, the Hawks' number one pick, the numbers are showing that Vegas numbers are showing it's getting close, isn't it?
I'm sounding the alarm.
Okay.
And so about a week ago, we were looking at the Rookie of the Year award, and we saw that Castle had gotten, the rookie sophomore game, whatever they call that thing. He was the MVP of that. Then he was runner-up in the slam dunk competition. He did a very good job out there. He was being celebrated. Because he got rested or benched or whatnot coming out of the break, we were kind of like, what the hell's going on here? Then he has some good games. Okay, he righted the ship. Yeah. Rookie of the Year is going to be his. The only thing that's going to stop him from winning is getting to that 65-game threshold, right? Just don't get hurt, right? Just don't get hurt.
Pretty much.
I think he's a couple of games away. I think he's 3 games away now from getting to 65. And the idea was at that point, game over, game, set, match. But then something happened. And it's a double whammy against the Spurs when it comes to it all. The resurgence not only of Reece Shea, but the resurgence of the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks have won 4 out of 4 in a row, have won 6 out of 10, have moved up to the 7 seed in the Eastern Conference. That hurts us because we have their unprotected first-round draft pick, and a week ago that was slated to be right around 10 or 11. Now it's looking at 16 as a possibility, and if they make a run in the playoffs, it gets even worse. But beyond all that is the fact that Reece Shea is a starter on that team. And he's doing a pretty decent job out there, and his points per game have increased. Now, he's now averaging 11.6 points per game. He's shooting 44% from the field. So averaging 2 points less than Castle for the season. But his efficiency is a lot better, 44% from the field. 52% effective field goal shooting percentage, a lot more efficient offensively. When it comes to rebounds, they're about the same. When it comes to assists, they're almost the same. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking to myself, man, if this Hawks team keeps winning, and Reece Arce is the starter on this team, I think that there's going to be a legitimate argument made down the stretch that Reece Arce, who was the number 1 overall pick, should be the Rookie of the Year. Now, over the weekend, I was looking at the odds of Stephon Castle. Most casinos have him at minus 450, which if you do that for percentage purposes, is an 82% chance of winning Rookie of the Year. Jalen Wells of Memphis is number 2. Number 3 is Reece Arce at 20-1. Well, after a couple of good games from Reece Arce, now that they've gone to 4 straight wins, it's now 16-1 odds. And what I think is going to happen is there's going to be a resurgence of Reece Arce down the stretch. So Castle better finish off strong. He cannot have continuous 8-point games like he had against the Mavericks the other day, a depleted Mavericks team. I'm just sounding the alarms that I see what's happening, Jeff. I see what's happening. What's going to happen is that if Castle kind of just ho-hums it the rest of the season, Reece Arce is going to take it at the end.
Yeah,
and I don't want it to happen. I want Castle to win, but Castle needs to ball out, man. It's not a foregone conclusion anymore.
Yeah, I think, but overall, if you look at the Rookie of the Year, it's Castle. He's been more consistent.
Why?
Then
it hasn't. He hasn't been. He hasn't been. Now Castle's a better defender, but at the end of the day, Castle's a bench player. At the end of the day, he's a bench player. And Reece Arce has started all but like 4 games this year for the Hawks. And if the Hawks get, and people will go like, well, what about Jalen Wells? If Jalen Wells plays for the Grizzlies and they're a really good team, they're not winning because of Jalen Wells. They win because of John Morant. They win because of other people, right? If Reece Arce is the 3rd best player on that team and he's starting all but a handful of games and he gets to 12, 13 points per game, and you look at it, Ty goes to the runner. A lot of people are like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Back on the 210 podcast, we were talking about this, and a lot of people in our chat line were saying, oh, well, wins don't matter, losses don't matter. But you know what? If it's a tie, then it does matter. And it's looking more and more like Reece Arce is making that move. And I equate it to a horse race where Castle's in the lead going down the final stretch, but you got that horse coming pretty fast.
Yeah.
Along, going on the outside. That's Reece Arce, the number 1 overall pick. And I believe it's going to be a 2-horse race down the stretch. Castle is still in position to win this, but he cannot coast the last 15 games of the season.
Do you know if the Hawks
win this award?
Do you know if the Hawks and Spurs still play, or are they done with the season series?
I think they're done with the season series.
Dang, all right, there goes that, yeah.
But, I mean, they're 2 games out of 500. Who would have thought that Hawks team, after getting rid of Hunter and getting rid of all these other players, DeJounte and all these guys, being 2 games out of under 500 at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's going to be political pressure here from sports writers, especially a big market like Atlanta. Dude, I'm sorry, man. I see things like this come in a mile away, and a lot of Spurs fans right now, when I bring it up, we're like, no, it's a season-long award. I'm just telling you, man, we're going to have this debate about a week or 2 from now, and it's going to be all over national media.
Yeah. We'll see how Castle closes out his rookie season. And look, the good news is, I think strength of schedule, though, the Spurs have one of the easier ones, I believe. So he'll have his opportunities to show out. Also, what could help him is if Fox shuts it down. If the Spurs and Fox shut it down, then you know who is going to be reinserted back into the starting lineup. That is Steph Castle. And then that'll be another opportunity for him to close out strong. But as of now, Jimenez, as of this recording, I still got Castle getting the Roy. As of right now. We'll see how the Spurs, as of right now. Yeah.
If it's 5 weeks to go in the season, Rookie of the Year right now belongs to Stephon Castle.
Yeah,
that is true.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what I want. That's what I want. I'm not hoping that he doesn't get it. But what I'm saying is that there's going to be a strong debate about this if he doesn't ball out the rest of the way. Because we have somebody else who's balling out in Reece Arce.
Yeah.
And I think Reece Arce is going to flip over Jalen Wells for that number 2 spot over the next week or so. Yeah. So I'm just saying, sound the alarm.
And everybody's really paying attention to the rookie ladder, the NBA.com's rookie ladder. I mean, it's like every time it comes out, what's the latest? And hey, looking back at it, what was considered a watered down draft, I think Castle will go number 1, wouldn't he? If they had to do it all over again, he goes number 1.
I think Richard still goes number 1.
Still goes in. I think.
I think Castle goes 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Reed Shepard, whatever happened to him, man? He went 3.
He's vanished.
Can we imagine if came into the Rockets had taken him?
I know. Oh my! I mean, I think there are Rockets fans that are reeling that the Rockets passed on Castle. They passed. He was there for the taking. They passed on him. But yeah, well, I thought Reed was supposed to be the hands down rookie of the year. That was the entire consensus. So we're going into the new season. Reed is going to get it, and they didn't. But I think he's playing in the G League right now for Houston and the Real Grand Vipers. So they're not really doing much. But hey, all things considered, even though it was labeled a watered down draft, hey, it's gotten us 2 good rookies. Well, maybe 4. You know, if McCain didn't get hurt, it would have been McCain, Castle, Starr, and Ricochet. Well, Starr has been okay, I guess, not great. So we'll take him out.
He's high.
And then Wells. So not bad. All right, we're not done talking. When we get back, we're going to get tonight's game, Spurs Hornets. Yeah, Spurs will look for a measure of revenge against Charlotte tonight at the Frost Center. We're going to be looking at that and more with Mike Jimenez of Area 210 Podcast. But first, let's talk about Monarch Money.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining online, shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Money Monarch isn't just a budget app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing all your money and you start building wealth. Look, you get surprising insights. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Easy collaboration, managing money with your partner smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page without the stress, all in one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, even plan long-term goals. Right now, you want to take control of your finances with Money Monarch. Use code LOCKEDNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDNBA for half off your first year.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Mike Jimenez of Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at MJ Acquire Case. He's going to be talking about the show that he has with Joe Garcia in just a few minutes. But Jimenez, Spurs got to get back to business. By the way, another sign that the season's wrapping up fast is the Spurs are only going to have 1 day off between games from this point going forward. There's no 2 days off. There's no 3 days off. It's every other day there's a Spurs game. So soak in the games while you can, Spurs fans, because this season's going to end up pretty fast. And the good news is, though, Jimenez, the bulk of the games are at home. So they'll have plenty of opportunity for that to happen. But Spurs and Hornets play tonight at the Frost. Again, the Hornets are up on the season series 1-0 after a brutal loss for the Spurs, losing by 1 point in Charlotte. The Spurs are 27-37, and the Hornets are 16-49. This is the final meeting of the season. For those of y'all that are in Jersey watch, the Spurs will be in their Statement Edition jerseys. Jimenez, I don't know if you heard that, but every time they wear the Statement Edition jerseys, more likely than not, they lose.
Oh, it's like the Cowboys with the blue jerseys.
Yeah, it's exactly like the Cowboys with the blue jerseys, yeah. Statement Edition jerseys equals more likely a loss with the Spurs. All right. Let's get into some numbers here, Jimenez, before we give overall thoughts here. If you want to keep on the scoreboard, everybody, keep an eye on the scoreboard. Why? Because the Hornets are 4-23 when they are trailing after the third period on the road. So that's good to know. Also, the Hornets have been horrible after the All-Star break, Jimenez. You know, they're 3-10. They're 3-10 after the All-Star break.
And one of those 3?
Yeah, was the Spurs. Yep, was the Spurs. All right, so there's your quick, enemy scouting report there. You know, Jimenez, it's not a matter of this team not being able to score. They can score. The problem is they can't hold anybody down. And yes, I get it. Wemby's not in uniform. I understand that. That makes a world of difference. But even then, collectively, they need a rally around the defensive end because it's been horrible. Now, they showed a little bit against that in the win over Dallas. That's great. But for me, Jimenez tonight is all about defense defense, because despite the record, that Hornets team still boasts LaMelo Ball, and he can do some damage.
He can. The Spurs can't rebound. I mean, just plain and simple, they can't rebound.
They can't rebound at all.
And when we have Bismack Biyombo, who wasn't with this team for the first 60 games of the season, 50 games of the season, playing starter minutes, there's an issue there when it comes to it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's the big question is, can the Spurs stop LaMelo? Maybe that's a Castle duty.
It will be.
So that's something there to look at. We got to give some praise to Keldon Johnson.
Yes.
Keldon,
I'm glad you brought that up. We did a Lockdown Spurs yesterday just shining about him. So we definitely give him his time.
Keldon's effective field goal shooting percentage, if I'm not mistaken, the last 10 games is like 70%. It's like something
great.
It's absurd what he's been doing these days.
He's been playing really well.
So I'm interested in seeing that. I'm going to see what Castle does. De'Aaron Fox was a rebound away from a triple-double. That's what I'm looking at as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the big question is, can the Spurs rebound? Can they stop LaMelo? That's going to be it. Those are the two main questions. The Spurs should pull this one out, man. They better, man. They can't lose to a Charlotte team twice.
No.
They'll get that. And guess what, Jeff? At that point, Spurs win that game. Spurs will be 2.5 games away from the play-in tournament, and we're going to have that debate all over again.
And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. This is a situation the Spurs can trip into it. It's like one of those things. I can see them just like tripping into it because
Dallas is reeling. And Dallas is reeling. And they have a hard stretch of games coming up.
Phoenix can't get their you-know-what together. They're losing. I think Portland lost recently, too. The only threat is maybe Sacramento.
And they're reeling, too. Can you imagine if the Spurs had beaten Charlotte, they should have. If the Spurs had beaten Dallas, should have. Those two games right there, Spurs would be a game out of the play-in tournament. Just those two games.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a situation. If they make it, they just trip into. That's how it's going to go down. I think it'll end where they miss out, maybe by a game or two, and you go back and blame the losses to the Hornets and the Mavericks recently as what caused it. But I can definitely see this team at the NBA, the last 2 games of the season, and all, when the NBA releases the scenarios, if such and such team wins and this wins this and this tiebreaker goes here, and then that whole situation happens. I can see that for the Spurs. If Dallas and Portland and Phoenix lose X amount of games, the Spurs automatically get it. And then the Spurs are like, what? Huh? Yeah?
Okay.
We're in it?
Well, let's talk about this real fast. How many wins will it take to get there? Because 2 weeks ago or pre-Luka trade, it was like you needed to win 43 to 44 games to get into the play-in tournament in a stacked West. Right now, Dallas has a losing record, and Dallas isn't going to get any better. Phoenix has a losing record. They're not getting any better. I think 37 wins gets you in. Maybe 36.
You got this team with about another 9 more wins in them.
I mean, if you go 37-45, 10-8, get this game. You're 9-8.
They still got to take on Cleveland twice. They still got Boston left. They got Denver left. We've
beaten Denver on the road this year.
They still got.
All I'm saying is Mitch Johnson needs to be like Coach Lou from Major League. Just bring out, every time we win, we peel off a section.
Yeah,
that type of thing going on. That's what Mitch Johnson needs to do right now.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if they trip into it. I think that's how they get in.
10 wins gets you there.
They just step on that banana peel and then they go, whoa, and they fall back and they're like, okay, you're in the play-in. That's how the NBA is going to go. You're in it. I'm like, okay, well, we're in it. Then here we go. But, I want to go back to Keldon real fast before I let you go here, Jimenez. We asked a big question yesterday on the show. Again, we put him in the spotlight because he deserved it. He was playing great. How we talk about the big three, the new big three in San Antonio being, as of now, Wemby, Fox, and Castle. That's your foundation. You're moving on with that. Should you lump in Keldon, not necessarily because he's a big three, but if we're looking at foundational pieces to build around, isn't he your foundational 6-man?
the way that he's been playing, not just the last 10 games,
Yeah.
but since the start of 2025, since January 1,
Yeah, he's been great.
playing with a lot of heart.
Yeah.
And this is somebody who was in every trade scenario imaginable because he's a very, very attractive
I thought
contract.
he'd be in Sacramento by now. I really did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keldon has earned his right to come back. And I'm very, very pleased with what he's doing. Very few bright spots going on right now when it comes to players around the NBA. I would players on the Spurs rather.
Yeah.
I would go off to say, Jeff, even though he had one season in which he averaged 22 points per game, is it possible that we're witnessing Keldon Johnson's best season ever?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at, Jimenez. Has he solidified himself as a foundational sixth man?
Yeah, I would say 6th or 7th man. I would say 7th. I don't want to say 6th. I'll say 7th man. Last 10 games, 15.8 points per game.
Yeah, he's just playing great.
59% shooting, 42% from three. It's like 70% effective field goal shooting. He's getting 5 rebounds per game. All this in 24 minutes. It's not the Keldon that averaged 22 points, but what we're witnessing here is a more efficient, more consistent Keldon Johnson, which has been the bugaboo about him. And it's always been the inconsistency because he's undersized in a lot of what he's doing, but it seems like his game is changing. And he is deadly within 5 feet. That stat that they've been bringing up about how, he's like shooting like 75% from 5 feet. That's pretty impressive because it's not like this guy's dunking all the time.
No. And I think why he's excelling is because he's accepted his role. He's not trying to do more than what he is. He's not trying to do less. He's just sticking to what he knows.
And it's not hero ball. That's
not hero ball. Yeah.
That's Devin Vassell's problem, is that he falls into the trap of he's hero ball guy. He thinks he's the best player on the team sometimes. Keldon realizes his role. He's becoming more efficient. He's picking his battles. He's becoming a more savvy veteran player. And it's not just because he's been hot the last 3, 4, 5 games. We're talking about the last 20 games.
Yeah. He's been really
that
good,
he's been doing this. So I'm excited about him. And one last thing, why is Zach Collins balling out elsewhere? That pisses me off, but that's a different topic for
sometimes different addresses do things for you. Different look. I mean, even real life, man. Look, you went through. You're going through a divorce, but look at your.
What happened?
Yeah,
I rebounded in a good way.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's probably happening to Zach Collins right now. He just found a better fit for him, and I think that's all it is. But yeah, like you said, that's a whole discussion for another day. But no, I for me yesterday when we're talking about Keldon, I said he's not a long-term foundational piece. I said he's a medium-term. And what I mean by that is if the right deal comes along and you're bringing a power player, then if you got to bite the bullet, you got to bite the bullet and throw Keldon in. But you could make the art to that level.
You could make the argument that his trade value is improved.
Yeah.
Because he's not just some guy who was the 12th man on a gold medal team.
Yeah.
You can look at him and go, look, this is what he's capable, what he's able to do. Very manageable contract, and he's under contract until the year 2027.
Yeah. Hey, and here's the thing. Remember, it wasn't too long ago. Remember, everybody, if y'all don't remember this, short-term memory here, pre-Wemby era, it was actually Keldon Johnson's team.
It was.
Keldon Johnson was the guy for the Spurs. He was the one being pushed forward on plays and around the community. He's still doing all that, but so he's kind of run the gamut in San Antonio. He was the man pre-Wemby. Then he was a starter alongside Wemby. Then he accepted his role to be a sixth man. So I don't think he gets enough credit for what he's endured, from going from practically, for at least for a while, the face of the team to part of the Wemby era, starting with him, and now a sixth man. So,
and he gets a pay cut next year.
And he gets
weird. Most contracts gradually increase.
Yeah,
his was done where it was high up front and it declined.
Yeah.
So he's going from 19 million to 17.5 next year.
Yeah, and that's not good on the Spurs again, valuing these players the way they do and setting up the franchise to be in a good position to make some waves. But there you have it. So quick thought. We did the whole spectrum today. We gave you some Spurs political talk. We got to some fun talk with some pranks and some things to look out for when it comes to the Roy. We're looking at tonight's game, Spurs Hornets. What do you want right here on Locked On Spurs. But if you want more than just Spurs talk, you want to go to Area 210 Podcast. Jimenez, tell us what's that all about.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, we get going at 10 o'clock. We go about an hour 15, hour and a half doing sports, a lot of Spurs talk, Cowboys, Texans. We have March Madness that's around the corner that we'll be getting into. We do a lot of pop culture references, a lot of music talk, a lot of streaming and stuff like that, local news, things like that. But it's Monday through Friday. We have more than 2,000 subscribers. It's a fun time. And Jeff Garcia is oftentimes on Wednesdays.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Thank you so much for being part of this show.
No, not a problem. Yeah, you guys are fun, entertaining, you and Joe. Again, everybody check their show out, Area 210 Podcast. It's on YouTube. Go subscribe to it right now. Jimenez, I don't know what you did to me this past week. I don't know if you big time me or you just double booked me.
Well, the thing was, Joe said that there wasn't going to be a podcast. He says I'm camping with my daughter, all that stuff. And then the next day, you're like, "Hey, let's do Locked On Spurs at a particular time."
Yeah, you're all thumbs up. Yeah.
And Joe calls me. He goes, "Where are you? The podcast is starting right now." And I had no idea. So I did a podcast for an hour and a half with no material. Just went out and started talking. And I'm texting you, going, "Dude, we got to push this back." And then you big time me. You're like, "Hey, I got places to go, people to see."
I'm glad you were able to come on and wrap up the week here at Locked On Spurs. And again, happy birthday, big man. Happy birthday. Happy many returns, all that good stuff. Hope you enjoy your time with your family and all your loved ones there. So enjoy it, man. Enjoy. You're still a baby, though, in my eyes. You're still a kid. You're still a kid.
We'll get together soon.
Yeah, exactly. He is Mike Jimenez. Be sure to follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste and check out his show at Area 210 Podcast and Joe Garcia's as well. We'll be back on Monday talking all things silver and black as the Spurs season is starting to wrap up. Everybody, it's going to wrap up fast. It's going to go by fast. So soak it in while you can. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Kinspy, plus at YouTube. Also, the Locked On Spurs newsletter is in the description below on YouTube. Click that link. It says LO Spurs newsletter is completely free. Sign up today. So for Mike Jimenez, the birthday boy, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.